Welcome to Dynamo's Dozen, the podcast that we bring you most weeks, where we talk about whatever may be on our minds from pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, music, movies, muesli, fresh socks and jocks, and everything in between, never forgetting the talc. Thank you, one and all, and welcome back to the show. You are with us live. My name, in case you've forgotten because you haven't seen my face in about 2 weeks, is Ian the Dynamo Kelly, the originator of Dynamo's Dozen, joined by the man that makes it better for everybody, the shopkeeper, Niall Hogan. Niall, great to be back with you again. Do apologise. You know the sus. A lot of people know going through a little bit of a home move and all at the moment, so it's a bit of a pain in the biolox, to be honest with you. Um, but it is what it is. Most people out there that watch the show probably know what that entails. But we are here today, and it's only going to get better going forward. And we have a hell of a show today to bring people as well. So,
Yeah,
thanks.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do. I appreciate you. Uh, appreciate you filling in, going on these solo shows as well. We actually had a pretty. We won't announce that yet, but we had a pretty cool guest lined up last week in your absence. Just time constraints wasn't. It didn't align. It is an American guy. We don't want to give that too much away, but it's a really cool blast from the past. Someone who worked behind the scenes back in the day during the WWE Attitude Era, as a marketer and as a writer. So it's something we have up our sleeve that we'll be able to bring to the people soon, hopefully. But we've a hell of a show today, as always, because you've a lot to say, as always.
yeah, absolutely. We've a review of Night of Champions, which was absolutely excellent again. WWE knocking it out of the park again with these premium live events. Um, to the point nearly where I'm beginning to think I'm really starting to rank these live events nearly up there with the big four at this stage in terms of crowd and location and the setting and everything to do with it just seems awesome these days. So really enjoying wrestling at the moment and these premium live events. We'll also have a little bit of a chat to some news out there as well. We've got some news articles to talk about and stuff like that. A lot of people at the moment out there in wrestling bigging up the big dog himself, the tribal chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns. So we'll have a little bit of chat about that. We'll take a few snippets from Raw, of course, as well, what happened on Raw last night and the fallout of that as we head into Money in the Bank. We know that this man is going to be celebrating 1,000 days as champion. The big occasion is Smackdown this Friday. So probably next week, what I think we'll do is we'll take a deep dive into this man's 1,000 days as champion and pull it
Yeah,
apart and maybe have a chat about it and talk about how we feel about it. Is this a throwback to the old days? Have we gone back there? Has he really cemented that kind of legacy? Is it gone too far in the modern era of wrestling? Are people getting a little bit jaded by this man hogging the belts? Or how do we feel about it? So we'll have a good chat about that next week, and of course we'll also bring the latest news and all that kind of stuff next week as well. But this is a big one, 1,000 days as champion and stuff like that. So looking forward to Friday night SmackDown. Should be a belter.
crazy, isn't it? 1,000 days. It's an amazing achievement in the modern era, in a time where attention span is at an all-time low,
Mm.
and I suppose people's even patience is at an all-time low in pro wrestling. The fact that this man is still fresh, after all this time, it's an amazing feat. And I have a cool little story. I'm gonna prelude it, um, for after Becky's match at Night of Champions. Of a funny little story involving her brother.
Cool.
What happened directly 2 seconds after the match. So you'll be interested in this, Niall.
Interesting, yeah, absolutely. Keep that one. We'll look forward to that one. Take a few comments, of course, before we begin. Eno's in. What's the crack, Noel? All good, Eno. Daz is in. Big up, Daz. How are you? Big up, Noel and Ian. Any news on who Set will face next after winning the World Heavyweight Championship? No idea yet, but I'm sure it will unfold. Um,
There's murmurings that it could be a number of people. I think what they're going to try and do is have a nice little feud with a couple of people, I would imagine. So, how's it going, Eno? Good to see you, my friend.
And shout out to everyone that's soon to come to the chat. We are live. Nice one, Eno. Eno's like our Howard Finkel of the chat, isn't he? He's our Howard Finkel of the chat. Right, let's get into this. Let's get into this premium live event. Night of Champions from Saudi Arabia, from Jeddah. Absolutely. The scene was set. It looked absolutely amazing, as they always do. They knock it out of the park. Setting the one thing I kind of picked up on this one before we get into some of the matches and stuff like that was that it's kind of it's being more embraced as it goes along. When you think about the first crown jewels and kind of stuff like that, how it was kind of like, you know, it was kind of very, very rich people lounging around on couches and all that kind of thing. And it felt like it was just Saudi Arabia or whatever, just trying to show that it was sort of moving towards some Western kind of stuff. But certainly it's changed now. This looks like a proper event on the calendar. The fans were absolutely electric, especially in that camera side, that opposite the camera side at the ring and all. The intensity was unreal. And we'll talk about Reigns, of course. He had them in his hand throughout the match, and many of them did as well. But they're really into it now. You can see like this, and not only are they into it, like when you went to the crowd and all, there was Macho Man shirts and NWO shirts. So it wasn't the latest and greatest Seth Rollins or Cody Rhodes. The fans are really starting to embrace pro wrestling and sports entertainment, and you know, probably going back and looking at it more and educating themselves more. And as they educate themselves more, they get more into it, and then you get a better reaction at these shows and stuff. So it looks like it's a real part of the furniture now, if you like. And that's why I mentioned earlier, I feel a lot of these events, the likes of this one and Backlash and Clash of the Castle and all, they're nearly at that kind of big four status when we used to talk about Rumble and Mania and SummerSlam and Survivor Series and all that. They're just now huge events with great narratives and great build-up, great storylines, great storytelling, really, really well booked matches. And it just to me, they just keep on knocking it out of the park, and I hope they can keep this momentum going. I don't know what your initial thoughts were of it.
Yeah, I concur with everything you said, and I think there's a real simple formula to it as well, and it's something we kind of alluded to, I think, on a good few shows back, is that when you give people a little taste in countries that don't get it that often in a live environment, they show up ready to rock. That's why, you know, when you see the Raw after Mania most years, you've got tons of Irish people over, you've got tons of UK fans over, and notoriously the UK fans are the best, you know what I mean, and the loudest. It's because they're getting kind of spoon fed little bits and pieces here and then. You know, they're only over a couple. Like, sure, you get the WWE on tour, but they're kind of generic matches, and you know, they're not televised and whatnot. When they're pay-per-views and they're on TV and it means something, these fans are up for it. And I think that's what happens when you bring it out of the States to the likes of Saudi Arabia. And you made a great point there, actually, with the Saudi fans, because you know how I feel about the whole thing. But at the same time, it seems like it's opening up a little bit, because even you have the likes of Sami Zayn going over now and all that, you know, whereas before they were a little bit iffy about it. Yeah. So I think it's great that, you know, we're bringing this to all corners of the globe. Like, I can only imagine what you get if you brought this over to a Japan, or, you know, Germany live or something, because we know the German fans are crazy too. I mean, we saw it in Puerto Rico. That was the last time we were speaking about this, actually.
Yeah.
It's a different level of fan, because, you know, in the States anyone can just travel and go and see Raw any week or SmackDown any week, and it becomes like the staple fans at a football match, really, doesn't it? You know, when you see it every week, you tend to be guilty of going through the motions, so to speak. Whereas these fans now are educated to what they're going to see. They know they're going to get bang for their buck, and they bring it. So it's it's absolutely fantastic, you know.
Yeah, it's incredible, really, what they've done. What they've done is they found a recipe haven't they? They've kind of stumbled across this recipe of premium live events in geographical locations around the world with a
Yeah.
sprinkling of the local heroes mixed
Yeah.
into really good positions on the card. And I have to say, WWE. If you look at that promo video at the start, the opening video for it, and Triple H doing the narration on it and all that kind of stuff, they are absolutely the best in the business at setting the scene for what's about to come and to get your butt out of the seat and get you fired up for what you're about to witness. And they are absolutely the best at it without a shadow of a doubt. And look, I've been beating this drum for years, back to our Podman days. No one is even close to them. Not even close, not even in the same realm as them when it comes to this kind of stuff. They are just absolutely outstanding. They make everything seem huge. They make everything seem meaningful. And they really harness now your emotion and your energy. And you can see those Saudi fans probably leaving that show. They were poleaxed. And I lay odds they were absolutely gasping and can't wait for the next show. But as you
Do you
said,
know what the word?
once you
The
build
key
up that
word I think is anticipation.
yeah.
Anticipation is the word. They create with their videos. Sorry, there was a bit of a lag there. I didn't mean to cut across you.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that anticipation is the key word there. When you watch those little video packages, like in the build up to a show, I mean, we remember this as kids and as young men. Like, I remember, I always go back to WrestleMania 6 because it was the one where it's like, oh my good Lord, the anticipation that this is given me. I've got 3 hours. I've got to get through everything in between to get to the main event. But good Lord, everything here is so good as well because I like that guy and I like that guy. It's like a great UFC pay-per-view or a great boxing pay-per-view,
Yeah.
You don't want to take your eyes off it because it's only going to get better and better and better. And the great thing with wrestling is that you're not going to get a 10-second knockout of your favorite fighter. It's fantastic storytelling, not just in the ring, but also in its presentation and in its delivery and in its marketing. It's just they're in a world of their own, really. I think in most, with not just with AEW, I think in most brands, WWE is in a league of its own in terms of what it does, in terms of presenting a product that's gives their fans what they want.
It's interesting when you look back. It nearly reminds me sometimes of, remember years ago with the UFC, the way they'd go in and they'd run those little black and white videos, about the
Yeah,
fighters and the
yeah,
pre-fight interviews, and you would be
yeah.
fired up for likes of Chuck or Randy Couture or Tito Ortiz or Ken Shamrock, and you really felt they were going to go in there and absolutely create murder and mayhem. And it's kind of like that as well, but way more presented in a way that kind of just really touches on your emotion. And then when you have the likes of H doing the narration, I thought was absolutely awesome. And I think he should narrate them going forward because he has such a cool, distinctive voice that even if they didn't tell you, it came up narrated by Triple H, but they wouldn't have even had to tell you. And I actually thought it would have been cooler if they hadn't have told us, so left us kind of thinking and wondering that has to be the game kind of thing and stuff like that. It was really, really cool at the start,
I think that's kind of why I brought in the WrestleMania 6 one, because remember that famous narration by Vince McMahon when they had that little cartoon video package with the planets aligning and all that stuff. It's real. It's like a modern homage to where that all came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it works so much better than I suppose, like the overly produced kind of sometimes WrestleMania ones in yesteryear that were kind of like too much glamour and blitz and blah. I think those narration where you're actually getting down to these are the fights that you're actually going to see tonight, and strap yourself in, kid, because you're in for a hell of a ride,
Yeah, because I even said it on last week's show. Even the build up to the Becky Trish match and this contract signing and everything else was really, really awesome. So they made everything look really, really big. But yeah, it's like as if they've gone and reset everything in the business back to the way we loved it, with the exception of obviously the internet and social media is still there, so they can't do much about that in terms of the volume of knowledge that we get to see and know. But everything else, like if you look at what they've done with Reigns, the way the matches have gone, the way they build the matches, the way they present them, the way they sell them to you, the crowd interaction, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely awesome at the moment. So, yeah, big up to it anyway. So let's get into the matches anyway. So, of course, one that I didn't think we were going to kick off the show with and has caused a little bit of conversation, of course, Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles for the World Heavyweight Championship. Rollins coming out, absolutely amazing ring gear, the jacket, the tights, real throwback stuff here, absolutely pristine. AJ coming out like AJ always does, which kind of set the narrative and what we knew what was going to happen. It was kind of like, it was kind of, would I go as far as to say gave a shit and didn't give a shit, kind of in a way. But Rollins looked amazing. What was your thoughts on this one?
Look, I mean, it was a match I was looking forward to. I mean, look, no pun intended. Sometimes you need to set the scene, right? Get the people fucking off their seats. We've seen it in past WrestleManias when you've got so many big matches on the card that it's not a bad thing to open it up with a big match that's involving big gold. No pun intended again.
Yeah.
I'm all about puns today because that is a little throwback to big gold, you know. I think Seth is just, yeah, he's, I mean, I've heard different, I've heard people kind of using some of my old critiques of Seth recently, including I think Uncle Jim was saying it as well. It's like, well, that's not really him. Like he's saying, oh, I've found myself as a character. It's like it couldn't be further from the guy. I know personally that that's not the case either, but it doesn't matter. He's selling it. Do you know what I mean? He's selling it and he's having fun with it. And it's believable in the sense that he's just this kind of lunatic, kind of Joker type character. And people have got behind it, you know.
Which is the
not
most
everything,
important thing. The most important thing is everyone's buying it. So
100%, because not everything, and this is going to be, you're going to be shocked to hear this, Niall. Not everything has to be traditional. I know, I'm shocked myself, but it is true. His in-ring work is gotten, it's just gotten better than it ever was. He's just comfortable in everything he does, and I mean, he's in there with a hell of a dance partner and one of the greatest of all time. So yeah, it was fantastic. It was a great match. Really had the crowd in the palm of their hand, and yeah, it was just great. Like,
yeah, I like the way you touched on how his ring work has improved and stuff like that. Because if you notice the finish for the curb stomp, AJ hadn't put his head exactly in the right position, and he adjusted to allow for that and stuff like that. Whereas you know yourself, in yesteryear, that could have ended up looking really, really
little
bad. So
things,
Savvy was there.
little things.
And even in the original curb stomp, when AJ moved his head and he stomped on his hand, I'm not sure whether they meant it or didn't mean it, but it was really, really cool the way they worked around it and stuff like that. And then, of course, AJ is so good as well. The suplexes, that suplex onto the apron had me shuddering a little bit. It was just about neat and tidy, but it was loose enough as well. But yeah, it was a great match to kick it off. And of course, Seth Rollins coming out as the world heavyweight champion, not unexpected. We had pinned this guy right from the beginning nearly. I know on a number of shows we built up other guys to keep it interesting along the way, but I think if you look at Seth Rollins' body of work over the last number of years, he had certainly arrived. I mean, you've seen Triple H presenting him with the belt. You could see how Triple H was like a proud father presenting a belt to a winning son or something like that. And they had some great battles, and AJ has had some great battles over the years with him as well. And it was a fitting match to kick off a stellar premium live event. I thought.
Just a quick one to kind of finish off as well on Seth's in-ring work there, because you made me think a little bit. There's a thing as well that he may have been unfairly treated. I mean, I don't think, like, I do think when I look at Seth, I think he's a great worker now and everything and all the packages. I still think I wouldn't go out and say he's the best worker in the company without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think so. I think AJ Styles is a better worker than most people. I think Finn Balor's a better worker than most people. I think Cody's a better worker than most people. You know, I think Roman Reigns is a better worker than most people. It doesn't matter, like, and there's so many different, so many varying parts to this as well. A great worker doesn't mean what moves you can do and blah blah blah. It's all about
Mm.
the flow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Roman Reigns is a different animal to a Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins can do more moves than Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? Um, Same with AJ, Ballard. They can all do these crazy moves, and Seth fits that bill as well because they're from that kind of generation where they were probably growing up watching Dynamite Kid and all those guys, so they can do more moves as such. But what Seth has found is just his niche, his comfort, and this is one thing I was going to say. When those injuries were happening, stuff like that, like there probably was a lot of pressure on him to be the guy, you're the chosen one kind of thing, and when you're not wrestling confident, that's when accidents can happen. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Whereas there's confidence in everything he does now. And I was glad you brought up that curb stomp thing because that's a confidence thing and an experience thing.
Mm.
But when you're wrestling with nerves and you're trying to get all your shit in and fit everything in, that's when accidents can happen, you know?
Yeah. Mm.
So you've seen it yourself, I suppose, even on local shows, gym shows, people trying to get too much in and they're waiting for the other guy to do it. When you slow down and you just let it flow and you let it happen, that's when the real personality comes out in the ring. And I think Seth has found that now, and it's
Yeah, he's created a niche of giving it enough time and putting it together in a way that gives us time as viewers and people in the seats time to react to it in the way that we should,
yes,
instead of a lot of the smoke and the fog that used to go on in matches we would normally miss, and they're the bits. Now you can go back and go, well, remember that move, remember that move, remember this happened, remember that happened. So we're buying into the psychology of the
yeah.
whole thing as well. So they're bringing us on that journey as well, and
Well, here's a
that's the
question.
biggest
Here's
thing
a
in it,
question
isn't
for you, right? Here's a question for you and the people listening
it?
now. I'm gonna and please do get in the comments and let us know. It's very, very simple, right? Fast and Furious 20 fucking million is out now soon, isn't it? Or 10. Let's
10.
let's be honest. 10.
10.
10 is out now. Can you remember anything from those movies? Just a load of car crashes and blah blah blah. You'd struggle to find one particular scene from those movies in 10
Mm.
movies that
Yeah.
you can go, that meant something. Now, I'm gonna say, can you choose one thing from Jaws that you remember? Can
Mm.
you choose one thing from Goodfellas that you remember?
Yeah.
Can you choose one thing from like any of Quentin Tarantino's movies that you can remember, or The
Yeah.
Godfather? You
Mm.
can, because, and you could choose many from all those films I just mentioned,
Mm.
because it's slow storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. And meaningful. And meaningful.
And that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying with pro wrestling. For any young lad listening out there, if you think I'm full of shit, no problem, that's fine. But I'm telling you, slow down, take a breath, and
Mm.
listen to the crowd, and then let them go on the journey with you. That's all.
Yeah. Let's take a few comments, then we'll get into the next match. Acers, Dragonoff versus Dijak, last man standing. Absolutely amazing. Unreal. Check it out. Absolutely unreal. Daz is in. Are you going to review AEW All Out as well? No. Yeah, I probably will, but I don't think I'll be reviewing Double or Nothing. I don't know, Ian, if you've heard much about Double or Nothing, but it didn't potentially go to plan, as they say.
I've
Yeah.
I've yeah, I've kind of put that one on the long finger. If I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't watched it yet, but I will watch it. But I seen some clips from it and stuff like that, and it just looked. It didn't look like it delivered what it tried to deliver. And I even heard, as far as I was listening to Jim Cornette's podcast, he was saying that they were giving away tickets with burger meals and restaurants and all to
Yeah,
go to it and everything and all. And
I,
that's
c- I
that's
can
generally.
I can actually verify. I don't want to mention names, but I can actually verify from a mate over there that that's 100% true. They've
Yeah,
gone nitro on it.
big up Bino. Morris is in. I wonder, could Devlin get more over than Balor? Interesting.
You know,
Interesting.
Morris is just trolling there because I'm on the show. But trust me, Fergal does watch these shows, so be interesting
Mm.
to see Morris's pitch to Fergal when he wants him on the show.
And Cody is going after the world title. Get through with Brock. world title on the way. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes anyway. Let's up next. Becky Lynch versus Trish
What's the
Stratus.
podcast? Ian said they're looking forward to that podcast. Does Morris have something going with Project X Wrestling that we need to plug or anything? Or?
No, he'll plug it himself in the comments. I was talking to him earlier today. Yeah, I think he has some
Oh,
stuff
happy
going
days.
there.
Yeah, because plug it like may as well. Yeah,
absolutely. But up next, Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. Both girls coming out in those jumpsuits. Becky in the kind of Kill Bill Bruce Lee yellow jumpsuit, and Trish, of course, in her typical black and pink. Both girls looking the absolute business,
covering up the body for the El Saudis.
Yeah, but do you know the thing about it? Funny enough, the match started, and I was watching it with Ben, and Ben asked me about a couple of minutes into the match. Ben asked me about the jumpsuits, and you know the funny thing is, I didn't actually realize and focus on it because it was in Saudi that the girls were covered up in the suits. I thought the suits looked really, really cool, and I was good with it. I didn't. That was not my first part of call at all when the girls came out to the ring, which obviously is a good sign. But this was an interesting match for Becky and for Trish. Big build up to it with the contract signing as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, can I say as well, like this Kill Bill thing absolutely kills me. No pun intended. It's game of death, lads. Come on. Where do you think Kill Bill got it from?
Absolutely. That's why I had the Bruce Lee stuff in there and everything and all. Yeah, so pretty cool.
Love it. Love it. No, I know you got that, but the amount of people that were like, "Oh, the Kill Bill tribute was good," I was like, it's game of death. Give Bruce Lee his due.
Absolutely. This was kind of it was a back and forth match. But when the ref had when the ref had the back turned, Zoe Stark came out and hit Becky. I think she opened her up. I think she busted her nose a bit or something like that. And then she went back into the ring for Trish to hit Stratisfaction for the win. So that should be interesting to see what way that goes now, because both girls have matches coming up. We'll talk about it in the news. A couple of matches confirmed for next week on Raw. Money in the Bank qualifiers. So they're going to be pretty interesting. Zoe Stark in one of them and Becky in the other. So these two girls could potentially meet at Money in the Bank, and that would be very, very interesting.
I was going to say to you, remember I mentioned at the top of the show, I would mention something about the Becky Lynch match.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we give a shout out to my friend and yours, of course, Richie Quinn.
Yeah.
It was so funny, right? The weirdest two things happened this week. On Friday night, I got a response to like a messenger, like a Facebook messenger response to a text that I'd sent the guy that I worked with 10 years ago, but I hadn't seen him in a long time. So the funny thing about it was I'd sent him a message during lockdown going, it was something as simple as, yeah, sounds good. Didn't think anything about it because 2 years had passed. He obviously had a couple of beers, and at 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday night, I got a message going, yeah, man, I agree. I was like, so I'm sitting on the toilet, right? I'm sitting on the toilet, and I go, yeah, 2 years too late, mate, but yeah, I agree. So he rings me, right? I swear to God, he rings me and go, man, I thought of you today because I put on an album that I hadn't listened to in years. It was called Alice in Chains Unplugged, right? It's one of those unplugged albums from the 90s. I introduced him to it. Now, I don't even listen to that stuff anymore. Not that I don't love it. It's just I don't listen to it. And I kind of went, okay, cool. Anyway, a phone call ensued for an hour, me trying to decipher what he was telling me and what he was saying, because he was absolutely ossified. But the next day, true story, next day, after Becky and Trish had finished, because it was, what time was that around, Niall? 5, wasn't it? Roughly?
It would have been, the show started at 6, so the girls probably would have been about 7-ish. Yeah,
7-ish.
Kickoff was at 5, yeah.
My phone starts buzzing as Becky's holding her nose, and sure enough, it's Becky Lynch's brother, Richie Quinn. And I said, this is weird. So I answered the phone, and I went, this is so weird, Richie. What is the story? Because he lives in Barcelona. And he goes, why, what's weird? I said, you've just called, and I'm at the watching your sister get the shite kicked out of her. And he burst his shit laughing. Right? And he goes, "Oh, what happened? Did she break her nose again?" I said, "Funny enough, that's where she's bleeding from." So, but this is the weird thing. The reason he called me is because he went for a walk in a big park in Barcelona, and he said he was listening to Alice in Chains Unplugged and the song called "Brother." That's the name of the song, one of the songs on the album. And he goes, "I need to call Eno." How weird is that? Just thought that was very weird. Two nights in a row.
Yeah, and timing is everything.
Yeah, it's a strange one,
What's he
isn't
doing going for a walk in a park in Barcelona while his sister's dressing?
it? I plead the fifth.
I'll get it on the replay. Up
That's
next,
There's a paywall.
yeah, absolutely. Up next, Mustafa Ali versus Gunther. Gunther just his stock just rising all the time, but I thought Ali was awesome as well. Ali came out. He's I didn't realize how good Ali's selling is. He was really, really good at his selling. It's excellent. But he came out and he had some brilliant ring gear as well. Really, really looked the part. And we were sort of thinking this is kind of like the local guy kind of being fed to Gunther, as most guys tend to be. But it wasn't really, you know. I mean, Gunther obviously got the win and stuff like that, but I thought Ali played a great part in this and didn't look out of place at all and stuff like that. But again, Gunther's chops, wow, unbelievable. But Ali's ring gear and his selling was different level as well. So hats off to both of them. And of course, Gunther's stock is just rising and rising and rising. Gonna go buy Honky Tonk Man. And that's going to be a kind of a sad day for us. But he'll push on then into. There's no doubt we're going to see Gunther in that world heavyweight stroke undisputed title picture.
He'll never be technically up there with a. I'm sure Morris will agree with me on this one. Actually, if you're listening, Morris, please let me know. He will never have the technical excellence that Honky Tonk had, though.
Acers in the comments, MJF's media scrum is brilliant when he was asked. MJF's media scrum was the best part about Double or Nothing. I'm just putting that out there if people don't.
It's the only part, no?
But it was unbelievable, and it's in our news section, and we're going to talk about it because he had a lot more to say than just invest in him rather than CM Punk.
Yeah.
And a lot of wrestling fans, the way that's going and stuff like that, are beginning to agree that way as well. Daz is also in. Do you think when the Elite's AEW contract is up, they go to WWE? Absolutely not. Not a chance.
They wouldn't be taken. They wouldn't be had.
Yeah, I don't see that happening at all. Daz.
No.
I don't. I think that I think that whole Elite thing has kind of ran its course a little bit, and it kind of seems the way it's been put across in AEW. I think the fans are beginning to see it as well, that it's kind of it's run its course a little bit. So let's see.
There's a lot of truths coming out, isn't there? And a lot of you know what I mean? And yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. So next up, Bianca Belair versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. This I really, really had enjoyed. I haven't fully always bought into Asuka, but Asuka as a heel is phenomenal. The little nuances that she does in her entrance that are like pretty much a lot of it is the same as what you normally get, but she just tweaks it slightly to make you go, "You little bitch." You know,
it's more dastardly.
And her face paint, yeah, it's kind of has a greater purpose to it, doesn't it? Yeah. It's like there's a target on your back and she's chasing that target and she's zoned in on and stuff like that. But her face paint is absolutely stunning as well. The way she tweaked it for that character change. And Bianca, of course, looking only as Bianca does. A lot of people have said that a lot of Bianca's best work tends to be when she's chasing the champion as opposed to when she's being champion. Hard to disagree with that, but we also have to remember as well, when she was chasing the championship and who she won the championship off, sometimes it's different gravy than who you get to work with after that when you're champion. So that might be a part of it as well. If you're working with Charlotte and you're working with Becky and you're working with Sasha Banks when she was there and those type of people, it's different than when you're going in there against other, you know where I'm coming from.
No, it's very fair.
Not quite that level. So I think that's a fair point to make on it. I thought the match was laid out really well. Everyone was, of course, with the build-up expecting the mist and stuff like that, but they tweaked the mist slightly, which was kind of cool. She was up in position. The mist went into the fingers went into the eyes. Real throwback, as we said, old school again, fingers into the eyes. all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Picked up the win. And I thought it was awesome. I'm still a little bit concerned about that braid and Bianca's hair. As more and more matches happen, that braid seems to be breaking down more and more. And I'm wondering, are we on the verge of that becoming not part of the character anymore? Let's see what happens, maybe.
But it's not needed. You know what I mean? Like, she
Yeah.
can still come out and do the dance. You know what I mean? I'm sure there'll be a point
Yeah.
where it's not needed. I mean, like,
Yeah.
does Becky need to burn the shit out of her hair and make it fire orange anymore? Either, it's like, you know what I mean? Because let's be honest, bleach burns, and I'm sure braids of that length hurt as well. So
yeah, the only I suppose the only thing I sort of took from the match, I looked at we know how much of an athlete Bianca Belair is. She's super athlete and stuff like that, as we know. But she kind of tends to, I don't know if you picked up on it, she kind of tends to hit that drop kick with a single leg, where she could hit it with a double leg. And I think if she hit it with the double leg, it would look more impressive. The single leg sometimes to me looks a bit sort of lazy or not bothered. And that's the way it kind of comes across. I think she's well capable of hitting the double leg one. I think she hits the double leg one, it'll look way more impressive, way more impactful and stuff like that. No, but it's only a small thing and stuff like that. But hats off to Asuka, new Raw Women's Champion, and it was good as well. Premium live event, title change in hands, which is what we want to see as well. Not just people showing up to take the money and stuff like that. So pretty cool. The next one up for you, I'm sure you really enjoyed it. Rhea Ripley versus Natalya for the SmackDown Women's Championship. These are, Rhea Ripley. We don't need to talk too much about her on this show. We've bigged her up enough at this stage. She's absolutely top notch.
Best in the game.
But this one was kind of weird. This one with Natalya going out there as well. This kind of felt like a squash match on a pay-per-view, which is unusual this day and age. It was kind of just a distraction and a kind of a beatdown. It was Natty's birthday, but Rhea's so dominant as well, So it just felt like a kind of a weird match that was kind of put together and stuff like that and all, And then you seen the clips. They showed clips during the show as well. Shout out Make-A-Wish, the very first Make-A-Wish ever granted in Saudi Arabia. So these huge historic things and all, really cool. And of course, Natalya was involved. You've seen the clips and visiting the different kids and all that kind of stuff, and hospitals and all that kind of stuff. WWE just did a stellar job on all this stuff. But that's kind of historic, that first Make-A-Wish in Saudi Arabia, really cool. And it goes, as you said earlier, how they're opening up to so much more stuff. They might not have been open to that in the past at all, So it was pretty important, But Rhea, of course, picking up the win. Dominic Mysterio involved and stuff like that, and also pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. I think Rhea is just, I don't know, she's different gravy. I think she's the best female wrestler on the planet at the moment right now. And you know what? I would dare say she's one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now, because she's as big as some of the fucking guys. By how she presents herself as well, my God, she's sat under the learning tree of so many people, and everything is going in. You can see it. Her character, she knows who she is. She's I just think she's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, and Natalya is unfortunately one of those people now that's just kind of used as cannon fodder sometimes. Let's be real, because she's probably considered a good hand now. But I definitely think there's a lot more to her than that. Like, she can work. Maybe not the best talker in the world, but can still talk. So I'd like to see her get a bit of a run, in a good program with someone, because I do think she's worth a lot more than just to be there.
I was kind of going to say to you, with Rhea Ripley, of course, coming out, her dress neck to toe didn't seem out of place at all, because that's kind of her way, isn't it? That's kind of her kind of gear and stuff like that. So it didn't look out of place. With Natalya, I was going to say, is it nearly time, because she's misconsistent and stuff like that? She's been there so long, she's done it all. Is it nearly time to be kind of rather than diluting down the career a little bit in this way, maybe to use her more in that kind of ambassador role, that kind of stuff she was doing and stuff like that. And obviously being heavily involved as well in the women's division. Obviously she has a lot to impart on some of the girls and stuff like that and all. But I just wonder, are we getting to a stage now where kind of ring time is it really where it should be at this stage, you know?
Well, here's something, and I don't want to kind of come across in the wrong way here, but with the girls, like, you know, I wonder what the bump card is, because when I look at the likes of Medusa and I look at the likes of, say, Sherry, like the bump card wasn't very high. Do you know what I mean? Because, not being funny, they're bumping on the same rings as the lads are, but their bodies are a little bit, they're lighter. Do you know what I mean? They are lighter, even though they're in great nick. So I mean, I think it's a fair point that I'm making here. Like the bump card and the regular schedule of the grind, yeah, like sometimes it might be okay to slow down a little bit, you know what I mean? And not be on that regular schedule. So, you know, and Natalia probably wouldn't be much younger than myself, I'd imagine. Um, I'd imagine because she was teaming with Becky back in the day over in Calgary, then, and over in Japan as well. And Becky's what, 2 years younger than me, so like they're in their, they're, you know, they're in their mid to late 30s. So yeah,
Yeah, Aces and can't wait for Rhea Ripley versus Becky feud at WrestleMania 40. That would be pretty cool. All right, really,
that
really
would be
cool.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
but you know the
absolutely.
point I'm making there. I'm not saying that in bad. You know, oh, that
Yeah,
women can't go like the men do. I'm just talking logistically. You
mm,
know,
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
we
Yeah, and
all have a
I
bump
mean,
card, and that's it.
she's had a stellar career as well. You know what I mean? I mean, when you think about all the changes that WWE has gone through, and she's probably gone through a number of these cycles, and you think about the amount of wrestlers that they paid off and panned off and released and future endeavored and all that, and she's been around so long now, you know, and still looks $1,000,000. There's no doubt about it. Still looks the part, but I
Looks
think,
better than ever, to be fair.
yeah, but I think sometimes there just comes a point where if that's the kind of narrative in the way that you're going to be used, and not surprising that they do it that way, that maybe you're better off looking at it and going, you know, I can be way more useful in a different role here as an ambassador or something like that, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So, and it's a tough one to take when you've been around the business
Yeah.
so long. And I mean, she's been around it literally since she was a kid, like her dad,
Ah,
the anvil and
born
all, you
into it.
know, it's born into it every minute of her life nearly, you know.
Yeah.
Brock versus Cody. We spoke about 6, 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks ago on the show about how, and Dustin Rhodes also said it as well, that Cody needs to be tested. And boy, is he seriously getting tested. I don't know. Lesnar at the moment is just his intensity at the moment is just different level,
Yeah.
scary level. Cody, of course, is kind of chasing that kind of position, if you like, trying to get over the mountain that is Brock Lesnar first, conquer that mountain first before he moves on to something else. Um, Whether you can sell me a titanium cast in 2023, maybe is a stretch. And furthermore, using it as a weapon to me is 1985. And especially when it doesn't look like something like that you would see out of Iron Man. I know Jim Cornette had mentioned this as well, but like there wasn't even a cast on his arm. There was tape wrapping, and then there was this kind of black cast with buckles. That kind of nearly looked like something that Demolition would use as ring gear or something like that. You know what I mean? And this titanium cast that they were talking about and stuff like that. And you know, he hit Lesnar a few times with him, which was going to be the equalizer. But this ain't Cowboy Bob Orton time. You know what I mean? You can't sell me a cast in 2023. Um, Lesnar, the intensity of Lesnar when he locks on the Kimura and stuff like that, his head is like a volcano about to explode, which was really, really cool. The only thing I thought about this match at the end of it, I thought when Cody was out at the announcer's desk, I don't know if you picked up on this, and I don't know whether they were supposed to do it and it just didn't happen or something like that. But Brock was walking up the ramp, and then, of course, all the fans are going ballistic at him and stuff like that. And then he stops and he turns and looks back. I was fully sure he was heading back to put Cody through one of the announcer tables. I was sure that's what was coming, but I think he had beat him up so much in the match. Maybe he gave him a pass on it. I don't know what your thoughts were. Let me know.
Yeah, to be fair, when Brock is coming back, it's never for it's never to apologize. Let's just say,
No.
I did have, I did think he was coming back to get an ass whooping, but I think again, what they're doing is they're making Brock heel again, which is good because he loves that.
Yeah.
And they're still building sympathy for Cody. When will that moment be? It's the Tommy Dreamer ECW thing all over again. It's been done time and time throughout wrestling history, and I think it's the right avenue to go. To be fair, because it still keeps Cody likable. You build sympathy because he's fighting so hard, but he just can't get that one over that darned Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which most people don't. Let's be fair.
Nor they should.
You know, it's quite a mountain he's trying to scale there. The one thing I would say about Cody in the match, I thought the emotion and the pain on his face in those moments in the match was really, really good. Because sometimes I look at Cody's facials in matches and stuff like that, and I don't know. It doesn't sell the pain of the moment to me at times, you know. But I think since WrestleMania, it's greatly improved.
I really think, and I don't want to be called out for this, as just being choosing the same guy all the time. But if I was Cody, I'd really go back and study some tape of Bret in his heyday as a babyface, of Hogan back in his day as a babyface, and really kind of work on those facials. I do agree with you. I think you remember, like, when Bret used to do it, like, he'd be wrestling like these lads like Skinner and these kind of fucking nomads. But everything, like a punch to the back, it looked like, oh my God, it's real. Do you know what I mean? This is actually hurting. He's killing the guy. We want to get behind him. Same with Hogan. I mean, no one can tell me when Hogan used to put that hand up, reaching out for the crowd and going, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. That's all you do, Like, you feel the sympathy. I do to this day when I'm watching it. You know what I mean? Because you really get behind it. And they're only little things. I mean, look, what do I have to tell Cody? But I do think Cody's he's very close. He's right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know something, might be something that they latched on, and maybe this is what they're talking about and bringing them on this journey of testing them, if you like, and stuff like that. Maybe it's just these little bits that need to be put in place before we see the Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, so pretty cool. And then we move on to the main event. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns and Solo. Tag titles on the line. What would you stipulate? Daz reckons, what would you stipulate in for Cody versus Brock 3 when it happens?
Well, I seen Acer's made a belter of one there, a Hell in a Cell. I mean, like, I'd say ladder match, but that would be shit because Brock will probably break the ladder running up it. So, no, I think a Hell in a Cell would be the perfect one to go because street fights and all that aren't going to work. So, I think and I'm liking this feud too, and you can tell that Brock is liking it because he's selling like a mofo for Cody as well. So.
It's gonna have to be something that kind of evens it up, isn't it? Because realistically, to look at Brock and look at Cody straight up in a match and stuff like that, there's no way you can see it happening. So you're gonna have to put something, inject something into the match that gives Cody something to use or something where he can go that evens things up somewhat. So they could have a think about it, but certainly going to be interesting what they do with it. Plus more blood. Yeah, I have to say the other day, I thought Lesnar did his best to try and open himself up again. I don't know whether you say that, but he had kind of just a small little nick with a little bit of blood.
He's a
But
fucking hard way. Like,
yeah,
just let the lads use a flipping blade, will you? For God's
yeah.
sakes.
I laughed at it. I don't know if you listened to Jim Cornette. I laughed at Jim Cornette saying, well, the only thing about Brock opening himself up the hard way is he'll never suffer from CTE because he has the skull of a gorilla. So it was like,
Well,
it was kind of mad point, wasn't it, Rick?
he is a bit of a Bigfoot, isn't he? So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Right, let's talk about this main event. Of course, Roman Reigns came out, literally has an entrance nearly as endless as Undertaker at this stage, but pretty cool with Solo. But Kevin Owens came out, of course, really, really cool, got a great reception. And then, of course, Sami Zayn comes out and they blew the roof off the building. He was wearing the local attire. He had the two belts on him. He had the hair. The hair was gelled back and greased and all. He didn't look like that homeless Sami Zayn that we've
In
come
the
to
words
know.
in the words of McGregor, he had a towel on his body.
Yeah. But he looked I think it's called is it called, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's called the Doshka or something like that. I think they call it, as far as I know.
Could be
Correct me
Niall.
if I'm
I'm
wrong
not.
or not.
I'm
But
not
that's apparently what it's called.
I couldn't correct you. And you know what? I wouldn't want to correct you anyway. I'm going to go for what you call it, a dog suit.
A Doshka. So there you go.
Oh, a
Sean's in the
deduction
comments.
of proper clothing.
There you go. How do, gentlemen? And Ian arrived slightly later than normal, but hope both of you are well. We are indeed. It's called Aces reckons it's called bed sheets. There you go.
Oh right,
Yeah,
yeah. The
I,
towel is the
I,
one that you put over your head. Sorry.
I thought he looked really cool anyway, and then I thought
No, he
the
did.
announcement was cool as well. The way he announced himself and Kevin in Arabic, which was really, really cool. And I know when the camera panned to Reigns, even Reigns gave him that smile and that nod and that look on. That's pretty cool, kind of thing. It was
No, it
pretty
was.
good,
It
you
was
know.
cool.
So it was
It was,
a
well, it was
pretty
nice
cool
for him to.
moment. Yeah,
It's part of his culture as well, so it's nice to be able to do that.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I
yeah.
thought it was good.
What was your overall making in this? I mean, this was when we talk about WWE production, and so often we have spoke about AEW and how they get their camera work wrong, that they don't capture the moments at the right moment when things happen. WWE, if there was ever a lesson or an education in camera work, this match was it, really, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
the moment where the two Uso boys came in and they super kick Solo, and the camera pans to Reigns, who has only seen that moment and looks and sets the narrative, and how he was going to go in and pie face the two boys, and then the two boys are so snug in their super kicks and stuff like that and all, and Jimmy hitting them twice, and Jay, of course, with the emotion of what are you doing? We're the bloodline, we're this, you know what I mean? It was really, really cool. And Jimmy, you know, I've had enough. I've had enough. He's pushed me around enough and all. You want to let this happen and all this kind of thing. It was just so cool. And then he hits him with another one. It was awesome. And then of course the boys came in and picked up the win. But it was really, really cool in the way it went and stuff like that, and the way it was structured. And even Reigns, the way Reigns was able to work the crowd, as you said earlier, you talk about things being slowed down and being meaningful and stuff like that. Reigns had those crowd on puppet strings all night long in the way he works, and he only has to look at them and the heat they were giving them, and to see all those fans out of their seats, fully invested in that kind of hatred versus the upping for Sammy and the cool bit with the Usos and all that. Give us your thoughts. Like, I mean, what now? You know, the ref bump taking the spear, and I thought it was really cool as well when Kevin hit when Owens hit his move, and then Reigns went back off the ropes and shot forward and hit the spear. I thought that was kind of awesome. And then the ref took a cool bump off the spear as well, and you know, Sammy hitting the Superman punch looked kind of a little bit weird because Sammy is so small and Reigns is so big, and he leaps up and it was more like a little knuckle clatter than it was a Superman punch.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool. It was like Sammy out there just having fun, you know, doing that kind of stuff as well. Real throwback stuff. But yeah, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I loved it. Listen, all those guys I love anyway. I think Reigns, like I say, anything he touches, Reigns doesn't have to do a lot. He doesn't have to do a lot. Um, and anything he does do is going to be meaningful, and it's going to automatically people go, "Shit, this guy's on the offense." It's kind of similar. He's garnered a little bit of that Brock Lesnar respect, hasn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
You know that like shit. This guy
It,
is the real deal. Like,
it was interesting when I was looking at the match because Ben has found his interest in wrestling again. He's all in on it, and we were watching it together. And he was watching the match, and his comment to me was, "Sure, it's any wonder that this lad is a champion for 1,000 days. She never does that." That's what he said, and I just thought it was a cool comment. Like, and it just reiterates what you just said there. That like he doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to do a whole lot. He just has to rock up and show up, and it's there from you. Know what I mean?
do you know
And
what? It's similar
that's when you
to.
know they have it, isn't it?
It's so similar to. I'll bring back Hogan because I mean Hogan is one of the great heels and baby faces of all time. And when you people always say, "Oh, Hogan's work," when he was Hogan, Hulk Hogan, the immortal one, isn't that much different than when it was Hollywood Hogan. It's like, well, no, you're incorrect, sir. You're absolutely incorrect. It's very different, and it's the slight little nuances because when you're the heel, you don't have to do much. It's the
Mm,
baby face that needs to be the bumper, you know?
yeah.
It's just a
Mm,
little back rake here and there, a little nod to the crowd and point at your man on the ground and go, look, this is your guy. This is the guy you want to cheer. Get the effing boat. You know what I mean?
mm.
Those little things, like Roman doesn't have to do anything. But why would he? Look at Roddy Piper. How many bumps did Roddy Piper take? You know,
Yeah.
it's
Sean's
it's
Sean's back in. He's all in on the bloodline again. He was fed up with it a few weeks ago, but it's giving him the impetus to be back in on it. Ian's in.
there.
Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar, steel cage Iron Man match. Pin submission as normal, but should it go to sudden death, escape rules apply. Escape rules only in a steel cage match. We need proper world tag title belts. Speaking of steel cage matches, I was watching the steel cage match last night between Ric Flair and Kerry Von Erich, the one where Michael Hayes was the
Jumped.
referee, and
He was a special ref.
Terry Gordy gave Kerry Von Erich, costing him the match, the door across the head on the way out.
What a
Awesome stuff,
match!
man. What a what
What
a
a
what a
match!
throwback. Absolutely brilliant. We need proper world tag title belts. Yeah, they're probably going to sort that. Ace or SummerSlam going cool when Jay Uso has to count his twin loss to Roman Reigns. Well, speaking of that, we've got Money in the Bank on the way. And this could be quite cool, wouldn't it? If we had Jimmy versus Roman with Jay as the referee, that'd be pretty cool. I found this today and I thought it was a cool graphic that I'd have to put it up. So God knows what happens, but we're going to be in for an awesome Smackdown this Friday. Something's going to go down at this 1,000-day
Yeah,
celebration. So that's going to be awesome. That would be pretty cool. Uh, Sean's in. Roman has perfected his style. Heels get the crowd to hate them by their words and mannerisms just as much as their wrestling. Spot on, Sean. Exactly what we were talking about. Great point. They can still push Roman with one belt. I don't know. I don't know. He wants all the belts. He wants all
give
the
him
belts.
everything, including the women's belts. It's 2023. Come on.
Absolutely. And speaking, we're going to stick on the Roman Reigns situation because these two boys who we hold in high regard have been talking about Roman Reigns. Kurt Angle has been saying that Roman Reigns will not be in WWE in the next 5 years. He says the kid's going to be a movie star, following the pathway of the Rock, I would imagine, and stuff like that. But he's really getting at the moment, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. Absolutely brilliant from him and stuff like that. But I suppose if he keeps on going the way he's going, and as you said, he doesn't have to take many bumps and he doesn't have to do all that kind of stuff, he could go for quite a while, couldn't he? On TMZ,
Hundred
Hogan as
percent.
well. Yeah, Hogan was talking about him. Hulkster acknowledges the tribal chief. He said Roman Reigns took it back to where it should be. Big man, big moves, main event moves. So he really has kept the art form alive for all of us. That's how the Hulkster has described him. And I think that's what we spoke about earlier. How we've kind of reset wrestling and brought it back to where it should be and stuff like that. So absolutely spot on. So
For anyone that hasn't seen it yet, go and check out the Hulkster's interview with Ariel Hawani on Ariel's show
very
recently. It
good.
was actually really, really good. Hogan spoke. You know what, the man gets a lot of hate. I love him, but he actually spoke really well on pro wrestling itself and how it's going and how he actually gave John Cena great props as well. So check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little bit of AEW for you as well, obviously. Just to mention, congratulations to Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey on winning the women's tag belts. Fantastic win for them and stuff like that. And I think they were the standout in the lineup as well. And as I said to you earlier, Raw next week, you've got 2 Money in the Bank eliminator matches: Becky Lynch versus Sonya Deville and Natalya versus Zoe Stark. My guess is that Becky and Zoe get through. That's what I'm predicting, and that was probably the build-up that we seen in the Trish match. And also Friday night coming this week, Lacey Evans versus Selena Vega and Montez Ford versus LA Knight. Montez Ford versus LA Knight is a match not to be missed. It's going to be really, really cool. And we also had 2 qualifiers for Money in the Bank match as well. And obviously Shinsuke Nakamura and Ricochet have qualified for Money in the Bank. Having Ricochet and the Money in the Bank is always awesome. God knows what that man's going to come up with. He's absolutely superb for those type matches. Let's talk about MJF. Acer's obviously mentioned him earlier. The chat talking about don't invest in CM Punk, invest in me. But he had quite a lot to say, and when he was mentioning some of this stuff as well, Tony was looking at him, didn't look too best pleased, but we know this guy is just electric. But he was talking about his match not being in the main event. That's what the question he was asked, and he said this was his response. I don't know if you've seen it. He says, "Is he bothered by it?" And he said, "No. Why the fuck would I want to roll around in John Moxley's blood?" He said, "I'm good. No thanks. Also, realistically, whether this company or WWE, the world title having to go on last kind of is dead in wrestling." Which is a good point because obviously the World Heavyweight one was the first match on Night of Champions. So that's always a good sign as well. How many times has the world title not gone on last in this company? That was a good question. That's what he put out. And he also talked about how it didn't bother him not to headline last week's Double or Nothing, as he didn't want to wrestle in the blood-soaked ring. He said, I'd rather not run around in all the mid-blood. What a comment. The mid-blood.
Yeah.
He says, it's effing disgusting. He says, Wheeler Yuta was in that match. You think I want to roll around in Wheeler Yuta's blood? And he said, then talked about how Wheeler Yuta did not bleed in the match. And he goes, did he not bleed? Well, congrats. And I think he was setting up the reporter to turn around and say that. He knew exactly what he's doing. And the reporter, of course, took the hook and the bait straight away, which was really, really cool. And then obviously post Double or Nothing as well, Tony Khan was talking about how he's had good conversations with Bill Goldberg. So there's obviously something on the horizon there, probably culminating probably in Wembley, I would imagine. That's it. That's it for your news this week. We've got a few. We've got a bit of history, and we've got some notable birthdays to push through. 1988, and there is going to be a little bit of death in this week. Sorry, folks, I can't avoid it. It just happens. I think we've had one show so far where we've never had a death. So
this is why I'll go missing for 2 weeks. I just blame the house.
You'd be too upset to deal with it.
You get me so mad, as the Sheik would say.
Yeah. 1988, at a taping of WWF Wrestling Challenge in Fresno, California, the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, made their re-debut. If you know the story, of course, they got sent packing at the first contract signing and they were brought back in. They defeated the team of Steve Lombardi and Terry Gibbs. I remember Terry Gibbs so well. The sort of blondie brown mullet and the mustache.
Yeah.
And always wore those baggy kind of trunks and stuff like that. Terry Gibbs, shout out. They'd been signed the previous year, but then let go within weeks due to the partying too much. So this was their official debut, if you like. 1999, on an episode of WCW Nitro in Houston, Texas, Bam Bam Bigelow and Diamond Dallas Page defeated Kanyon and Perry Saturn to win the WCW Tag Team titles. In 2010, a man we well know. Wade Barrett is crowned the first winner of the NXT show when the brand was a quasi-reality show. Remember, kind of like Tough Enough and stuff like that. David Otunga was the runner-up, with Justin Gabriel finishing third. Remember Justin Gabriel?
I seen Wade Barrett hanging out with CM Punk there the other day. Did you see that? They were at seen it on Punk's Instagram. They were I think they might have been at what's Punk's favorite punk band? Oh God, Rancid.
Yeah, Rancid.
Yeah, they were hanging out together as well. There's a combination. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having Wade Barrett there to back me up if someone gave me shit. To be honest.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news, Kenny.
That man was bare knuckle, but he was a bare knuckle fighter in the UK back in the day, wasn't he?
I'm trying to imagine a guy the size of Wade Barrett as well at the Rancid gig. Crazy.
Forget about it.
Cool, yeah. Remember the first time we seen the footage of Punk at the Rancid gig, and he was kind of at the side of the stage, and he had the quarter lengths on and those Vans shoes, and he was just tapping the leg like this and all at the side of the stage. Remember years ago when he went to the first Rancid gig? That was pretty cool.
Actually, I'll give you a funny one. I saw a funny little snippet of something. You know that band Blink 182?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a fan of them now, but you know your man Tom DeLonge, he was always given shit for like being into aliens and conspiracy theories and stuff like that. He was telling the story about Oasis, one of your favorite bands, Niall. And he said when Oasis first came to America, they were only kind of getting started and they were put on tour with Oasis. And he goes, we were sitting there and we're all in our punk gear with the hats backwards and all going, oh. And then you see these lads walking in like with Beatles haircuts and just big long overcoats, like, and going, shit, that kind of looks cool, to be fair. And he goes, after the show, anyway, we went out and we just started like giving their crowd shit, like to try and make a name for ourselves. We're like, we're fucking Blink 182, whatever. And he goes, the doors kicked open and it's Liam Gallagher walking in like that. And they thought, oh, fuck, he's going to kill us. And he goes, in his Manchester accent, goes, you're the best we've seen so far on tour here in America. And he goes, he turns around and goes, so you liked us? And he goes, I'm not fucking saying I liked you. You're the best. And then fucking ran out and closed the door behind him. Deadly. I'm not saying I liked you.
Yeah, you're the best of what we've seen so far, but I'm not a fan.
It reminded me. The reason I brought that in because it's like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Remember his album? I like you, not very much, but I like you.
Yeah, absolutely. Daz is in. If Cena comes back, who do you see him feuding against and when? I think
he won't be feuding against anyone. I don't think. I think you'll just see little bits, maybe.
Yeah, just moments, just throwaway kind of match moments and stuff like that. And all, I think he said it the other day as well. Didn't he do an interview last week? We spoke about it on last week's show where he had said that his body's not really up to it anymore. He can feel it himself and stuff like that.
You got to give it to him, man.
But definitely, he could be used in certain things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also, just congratulations to Alexa Bliss pregnant announcement today. Yeah, absolutely, congratulations to her. Fantastic, and wish her well and all with that. Sean, can we have a cheery history section for once? Like, no, because it's about to get real dark, Sean. Just for you,
history's history, Sean. Unfortunately,
we can't rewrite it.
I have to deal with it live on camera. Imagine having to do this live on camera.
If only I had bought one of those DeLoreans back in the day for about $5,000, I could go back and sort all this stuff out. Daz is here. Is it true about Ryback going to AEW? I don't know. Is it? I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Is it not the same as Goldberg? No.
Maybe it's Ryback versus Goldberg. Maybe that's what they're thinking. Feed me more.
Feed me less. I'd be at the turnstiles on that one.
Paying your €5.
Yeah. Hey, get me a free ticket. What are you talking about?
Just buy a burger meal, apparently.
Yes.
Right. Let's talk about this then. 1973, Dory Funk Sr. passed away at the age of 53 as a result of heart failure. So there's your first one. Get that out of the way. Then 1987, we already spoke about it, at an event in Buffalo, New York, the Honky Tonk Man defeated Ricky the Dragon Steamboat to win the Intercontinental Championship to begin the longest reign with that title in WWE history. He went on to hold the belt for 454 days.
There
I
he is,
remember
Niall.
that well. I remember that well.
There he is.
Shake, rattle, and roll.
Move over, Elvis.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been watching a documentary about his last day. If I don't know if you've seen it yet, it's up there. I think it's on Amazon or Netflix. And that really,
Elvis.
really cool. Yeah, it's about his last day and people who were there and witnessed everything that happened and all that kind of thing.
Oh, good
Pretty
Lord.
cool.
Jesus.
Well worth a
Not
watch.
only are you bringing me into fucking history, you want me to go and watch Elvis's last day.
Subscribe, bitches. Yeah, but absolutely, yeah. I remember that match so well. I couldn't believe Honky was getting the belt because I had been brought on the Ricky Steamboat journey with the Macho Man storyline for so long with the neck injury with the bell and all that kind of thing and stuff. And then suddenly he was gone and Honky had the belt and I was going, that's a very weird move even at the time, but pretty cool in the end. 1998. This is going to be a tough one. The Junkyard Dog, Sylvester Ritter, was killed at the age of 45 in a car accident in Forest, Mississippi. Went on to be a Hall of Famer, of course, and a much beloved babyface of the 80s. Breaking down a lot of race barriers at the time and stuff like that existed at the time. But really, really cool and had a really, really successful career in wrestling. So we remember, of course, today, the Junkyard Dog, 1998. 2003, we also lost Classy Freddie Blassie. I think we've spoke about him a few times in. An absolute stellar. Died at the age of 85 as a result of heart and kidney failure in Hartsdale, New York. Legendary wrestling manager and stuff like that. You have his shirt, I have his shirt. Still wear it to this day with pride. We lost him in 2003. Fantastic book as well. Well worth a read if you can get hold of his book, folks.
Yeah.
Right. Bit of up news now. 1989, Dusty Rhodes made his WWF debut by defeating the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase at a house show in Boston, Massachusetts. So there you go. And I'm going to round it out with one. 2004, TNA Wrestling taped their first ever episode of Impact from Universal Studios in Orlando this week in 2004.
And they've never fucked off since.
And they've never looked back. That was quite the leap, actually, because you remember a lot of the early episodes were done down in Nashville.
Yes, they were. For the first year, they were done down in Nashville. Yeah,
and in a squared circle, no doubt as well.
A proper ring.
It was an interesting take for them. Let's finish up with some notable birthdays because we've had a good one. We'll take a few comments first. If my mouse would only work. Have you put that order in for the Skull Bret Hart t-shirt? Well, I have, but not in a 2XL. You're not a 2XL.
I was just looking at you, there. You kind of got that pencil neck thing going on. I don't think you should be getting a 2XL.
No, Eno's a big boy. He's tall.
No, but he's tall, but he's definitely not a 2XL.
Unfortunately, yes, he is in talks with Tony Khan. I presume that's Ryback Acers is talking about. And,
Acers always brings the bad news after you, and that's not a dig at you, Acers. In fairness, we appreciate the update, but you always come in. You're happy to fucking follow up the bad news.
He's happy to bring it even further down. I talk about the deaths of all these legends, and then he gives us even worse news. Right back into wrestling with AEW. Good Lord. Sean, Cena beats 30 for the US title. Does the US Open Challenge. Feuds with Roman and faces him at Mania for the 2 titles. Interference from the new Bloodline member, Johnny Knoxville. Roman wins. No, he won't be buying that. I like it, but he won't be buying that one. I don't think. Hopefully, our friends get their fingers out and get that Cactus Jack search soon. Yeah, they will.
There you go, now, Ian. Now you're talking my language. XL. There you go.
That's it. XL will do fine.
I was actually doing Ian a favor there. What I'm saying is, he's tall, but he wants it long. But the 2XL will be too flowy around the shoulders. You know what I mean? Come on.
It's length, not girth.
You're talking to a fashion guru here, Ian. Now, I know you don't know it just by now, but just by me wearing this beautiful Metallica t-shirt that I didn't buy in Niall's shop. But guess what? Most good t-shirts I have are from Niall's shop. And guess what? I'm a little bit too big to wear them now. He did warn me back in the day that the day would come. It's because of all the pushing ground, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Daz is in. Do you remember the Impact TNA lockdown when the Aces and Eights versus the team of Sting and Samoa Joe? I do remember well. Daz, just a little note there for you. I was at the first ever lockdown. I was in the mosh pit when Raven took on Jeff Hardy, and
You were?
Abyss, and I think
You
Abyss
were?
nearly took the head off AJ Styles with the gate off the cage and stuff like that. And
You
really,
were
really
there. I
cool.
remember you telling me that, actually. Yeah.
Acers are saying, get the 1,000 Days t-shirt ready. It's already ready. It's already ready. You don't think I flash up this stuff for the good of my health, do you? Just to let you know, by the way, WrestleMania 39 DVD will be in stock on Friday before we do our notable birthdays. And also, we did get in this week a cool throwback in, a man that you like, Jesse the Body Ventura. I ain't got time to bleed, the original Predator t-shirt with Jesse on the front. I ain't got time to bleed.
What size, though?
So we've all sizes. We don't let people down that way. We've all sizes.
Well, then you just hold a nice little large or medium there for me, yeah?
You don't want XL or 2XL, no?
No, I'm honest. I'm honest. I might be 12. I might be 12 and a half stone, but like, it's you know my body shape. You know my body shape.
Absolutely.
It's all in my arse and my legs.
Never miss leg day.
No.
Notable birthdays to finish out the show. We start off Ridge Holland, 1988. A man who I've met a couple of times, Hornswoggle, 1986. He's an absolute gentleman. A man who we both are fans of, Brian Kendrick, 1979. And of course, the great Steve Corino, 1973. The man who probably has one of the greatest minds for the business, Jake the Snake Roberts, this week celebrates his birthday, 1955.
Wow.
Vampiro, 1967. Also,
Friend of mine.
Man we spoke about earlier, yeah. Montez Ford, 1990. The Beautiful People, one half of it, Velvet Sky, 1981. The Cowboy himself, James Storm, the man who I've had in the shop for a signing, is an absolute gent who slagged me off about providing soft drinks instead of beers and stuff like that. I wasn't sure. The character precedes itself. 1977, James Storm, the Cowboy. Speaking of Goldberg, 1988, it's Grado's birthday this week as well. Grado from Scotland, I think, who does does a fantastic Goldberg entrance.
Great friend of Billy Gilmore from Brighton. Yeah. Just saying.
The man who mixed Goldberg with Madonna, as only he could.
Do you know the first person to ever show me Grado and his entrance?
It's probably me, was it?
Finn Balor.
Finn Balor
was sitting in his gaff, and he was like, "I'm going over to work a show in where were they doing those shows when it was fucking red hot? I think it was Manchester or something, wasn't it? And it was so funny. He goes, wait and you see what this lad comes out to. I'm not even going to tell you. He goes, you're going to love it. And I saw him coming out to Like a Prayer from Madonna, and I just went, give that man my money with a little bum bag, a little fanny pack.
Absolutely.
He used to take money in that as well. Do you know that? People would be dropping in like $5 and $10.
Yeah, 100%. Sure. You can tell by how he never let it go. There was obviously something in it. Acers breaking news: Anthony Martial out of the FA Cup final. Surprise, surprise. That entrance at Shug's house party is literally god tier. Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible. And talking about facials and stuff like that, and unbelievable. And that documentary he did where they followed him around the UK and he was going into these high-end salons, getting his hair done and all. It's crazy stuff.
Billy Gilmore's in that, actually.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
He was a prospect. They'd only signed him from the Rangers. Yeah.
Oh, cool. AJ Styles, 1977. It's his birthday this week, so happy birthday to AJ Styles. The Total Package, the man I met last year, 1958, Lex Luger, celebrates his birthday this week. And then we rounded out with 1909, Jim Crockett Sr. rounds out this week's birthday. So we've brought you full loop there from the now, back then, and really way back then. So we've covered everything this week in notable birthdays. Ian says, great show, fellas. Absolutely. Appreciate you being here, folks. Don't forget to like on the video, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. I remember he weighed in at metric tons at ICW, yeah. Then like 20,000
Yeah,
packets of Tato
ICW,
Christmas
yeah,
Scrappermania 3, yeah. He
yeah.
weighed in 20,000 packets of Tato Chris was just unbelievable. And it's great. It's just some of the
Deadly,
stuff
man.
is just it's brilliant. When you bring comedy that far and stuff like that, it's really, really cool. And some of the stuff he did was just crazy. Yeah, shout out to Grado, some fun times and stuff like that. Crazy guy. That's it. Another show in the bag. All good.
Well, yeah, 100%. Great to be back. So next week, I think what we are going to do, as you mentioned, we're going to be doing a little bit of deep dive, I think, into 1,000 days of Roman Reigns' reign. Looking at the good, there's not much bad, and the ugly, and we hope to have each and every one of you on the show with us as always, and we know you'll be there. Do be sure to spread the word. Shout out to Morris as well. Go and check out his channel. He's got a cool show on tomorrow. I think Ian shared it there earlier in the comments, but go and check it out. It's good. It's great as well. And at the end, we all need to support each other as well. So it's great having that. So shout out to Morris as well, because he always gives us a dig out when we need it too. So
top job.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Just for Daz there. Just before we finish for Daz there, next pay-per-view is Money in the Bank, Daz, coming up in the O2 Arena in London. That's your next pay-per-view coming up. So there you go.
Yeah, so there you go. It's going to be local, innit? Local time, innit? Well, it's been a hell of a show. The great thing about these pro wrestling shows is that when your football team is shit, you're always able to come here and talk to you fantastic people. Forbidden Door. No.
I'm going to start not calling those things pay-per-views anymore. They have to fix up big time before we revert to them as pay-per-views anymore.
When Punk is back and fixes things again, and we have the year of Punk that we did have, then AEW will be, Tony Khan is basically the equivalent of Todd Bowley at the moment, and needs to realize who his star player is, and put him and MJF together on the same playing field, and then all will be right. But as Richie Hodgkins just wants to say there, he loves coming in. He usually comes in later, but
no, he's come in twice. He's caught you early this time.
He's caught me early. What?
Morris is doing a video on Win the dog. You know, the Labrador that Arsenal got called a Win. Did you see this? Oh my God. Crazy stuff.
Brilliant. I love it. Well, look, until next week, from me, Ian the Dynamo Kelly, for the shopkeeper, Niall Hogan, we are over and out.